I don't know how much value I have in this universe, but I do know that I made a few people happier than they would have been without me. And as long as I know that, I'm as rich as I ever need to be.
Hey kid, what time is that?
It's time to refresh.
Back once again with another podcast. This is episode 59 of the It's Time to Refresh podcast. I believe it's 59, I could be wrong. Maybe 60. On this one, we've got Toriah, aka Vicky Scott.
Hi.
So we're doing a bit of a both of your story, and then we can get into that.
Yeah.
And you can tell me how it splits and whatnot. But as I ask everybody as we kick off, what did you have for tea last night?
What did I have for tea last night? I can't even remember, you know. That's a proper on-the-spot question. I genuinely can't remember what I had for tea.
I told you.
I don't think I did. I
Had tea. I had... All my mates came back from Greece, and they said, "Oh, we've been having like, whatever," and it just stuck in my mind. And I had gyros last night with a wrap and chips and chicken. It was absolutely amazing. I just felt like it, and it was a hot day, and I thought, "Why not?"
Yeah. No, I don't think I did. I don't think I actually had any tea last night, which is a first because anyone who knows me knows I'm a proper foodie.
Yeah. Oh well, that's good when we get into the questions, and that'll be all right. Because honestly, this podcast was meant to be a music podcast, and I think about 30% of it's just about food. So
yeah.
it's like,
Most of my radio shows are, to be fair.
Yeah.
I always have a debate about food on my show, quite often.
So just want to ask what you've been up to sort of lately then. What's been occurring?
So lately, obviously I've had like loads of gigs. I mean, January to, let's say, beginning of March is usually quite dry. But then I think that's just like a standard for quite a few DJs if you're not like up the top yet. Yeah. But yeah, like, you know, March kicked off like just, you know, still doing some private parties sometimes, but like, you know, heavily like involved with In Demand, obviously with the weekly radio show on a Saturday night. And like I've been added to like the Punched Armies lineups now, which is a really good really good night. Like they always sell out, they're always chocker, dead good atmosphere, just bouncing like from start to finish. I mean, I've got like stuff that's like Vicky Scott's side of things. Played in O Beach as well. Literally a few weeks ago for Sin Sundays.
I've seen that on your Instagram stories actually.
Yeah.
That's when we first started talking about coming on here, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I think you just went.
Yeah.
It was bad timing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It looked fun though.
Earlier in the year
really
probably
good.
would have been better. Like I'm absolutely chocker now, but I'm glad for it, to be fair.
Yeah. But so yeah, you always seem to be like, I see you on your socials. You've always got something on, which is it's good to see that. Like, I'm not going to say this that you're up and comer, but like you're grafting to get up there. If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? You're pro, and I can respect the hustle, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think it's only a matter of time before it actually starts happening, because you seem to be willing to put in the work, and that's, do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So what I do with everybody on here is I just want to go right back to day one with you. So who is Vicky? What's the story?
So day one, I used to be out in town every weekend. Used to go to like Garland's. Used to go to Mansion. There was like these boat parties called Sunshine Sundays. Right. Just met like loads of like the local Liverpool DJs and stuff. And then obviously when the time came for me to start going to festivals, Creamfields was my favourite festival.
It's only like on your doorstep as well, isn't it?
Literally, yeah, more or less. I mean, not as close as it used to be, because I believe it used to be like Speakways, like actually in Liverpool, but obviously now it's in Daysbury. But like, you know, that was my first ever festival I went to. And I seen Swedish House Mafia for the first time.
What year was this?
This was 2010.
Right.
And like I just like fell in love with Swedish House Mafia. I was obsessed with them. I loved all that like music.
Your first experience of like electronic music as such, then?
Yeah.
What about
much.
like growing up then in school and stuff? What was your influence in like music? Was music?
I wanted to be a solicitor. when I was a kid. Yeah. I loved football as well. I've always loved football.
Yeah. I'm glad you've got less boring.
Liverpool FC all the way.
Right.
I've always loved football. I had every football kit. I was like really into gaming. Still am into gaming.
Yeah.
PlayStation. Just putting that out there. Yeah, like as a kid, just like dead active, always playing out, or like if I weren't playing out, I'd be like on like the games and stuff. Into the football.
Yeah. When you said about football kits, you're saying you had them all. What's been your favourite?
There was one years ago, and it wasn't the home kit. I think it was one of the away kits, right. And I just remembered it because I used to wear. I think I wore that one most frequently. Yeah. And it was white, and it had like navy shorts. Right. And it had I think it was when we were sponsored by Carlsberg.
Right.
And it had a badge like right in the middle here. It was either Carlsberg or Reebok.
I remember.
But it was just a dead nice. It was just a dead nice kit. I've got loads of pictures in it, but I'd probably say that was a favourite for the amount of pictures I've got in that. But I've loved all the kits. You know, I must admit though, I do like having Nike again now. Yeah.
I'm like I can't say, and I sport Everton, and they've never had really a good shirt in like 20 years. So
no,
it's one of
not the Chang ones. Maybe.
No. No. I had them. I always remember. This is actually a good one. I always remember in school. I was 8 or 9. And I got absolutely rinsed in school because I never, obviously you're only 8 or 9 years old, and you don't get the realisation until obviously it happens. But I went and got the new Everton shirt. I think it was the Chang one as well, and it was like and I was like, I'm gonna get a football player on the back, right? And of like all football players I got Marcus Bent, right? So it's like Bent on the back, and
that's
everyone was like,
social suicide, isn't it? Really?
And I wore it once, and I never wore it since.
I just walked around with Bent on the back of my t-shirt, like no problem.
And I remember in school it was like a PE lesson or whatever, and I come out and I was dead happy. I got my new Everton shirt on. It just came out like a few days before, and we started playing. And they're all just fucking shouting. I was like, oh no.
Oh no. See, I my favourite players back then were obviously Stevie G, and Michael Owen. My auntie used to work for Liverpool. She used to massage players. Lucky her. And I used to get like Bertie cards and signed football. So like it was back in the day when like Emile Heskey was there, Jamie Carragher. So all these have like signed the ball. Sammy Hippier, Xabi Alonso, loads. But yeah, Gerrard and Owen like were always my favourite players. So they were the ones that were always on the back of my shirts, or like my last name, Scott, or Victoria, and that was it. Yeah.
Honestly, like I don't think I ever lived that down. Like even now, I bump into old friends I went to like primary school with.
Bent.
Bent 7, yeah. I know, football. It's like, oh no. But yeah, so you had your interest in football and that, and then you were saying you want to be a solicitor and stuff. Where did like music first come into it? Like what age was you like?
I've always loved music anyway. But like it was quite heavily influenced by my mum, because my mum used to have all like the 90s old school music on in the car. She couldn't tell you the names of the artists or the names of the songs or anything, but she always had like these albums on, because like that's what she kind of grew up on, used to like go out to and stuff.
You remember what albums there were?
Oh, I think it was literally a 90s floor fillers album.
Right.
And it had like Bobby Brown, So You Can Play That Game and stuff like that on. I can't remember the name of the album now, though. It looks a bit like it's not a flower, but it's like white and blue, and it's got like a kind of pattern. It's like a little cloud in the middle or something, and it's just got floor fillers 90s. It'd probably be dead obvious as well if I think it's a dead popular album, but it was a CD anyway, because obviously.
And then you thought, I'm into this sort of thing. I think.
Yeah, I've got good memories, because like it reminds me of like my mum and my sister and growing up. Like we had a really good childhood. So yeah, like happy memories from all that music, and like it's just got me into like wanting to play that, and then the earliest stage of like kind of like Swedish House Mafia and stuff was slowly getting into that like throughout school, but the biggest point was when I was definitely when I was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So I haven't always wanted to be a DJ. It just struck at that time when I went to Creamfields, and I just looked at them and was like, I want to do that. And I was like, that's
So what
cool.
was it that caught you right? Do you want to make the music, or did you want to be like the person up there DJing?
Both. I was like, oh, one, that's unreal. I'd love to be up there, like, making all these people dance. And two, I was thinking, oh my God, imagine playing your own tunes.
And getting a reaction.
And getting that kind of reaction like that. Like, I'm really, like, emotional and dead sensitive person. A lot of people know that. But, yeah, like, just, I'm very, like, a lot of, like, the tracks that, like, I produce and stuff as well. And, like, even set to play. Like, it'll be songs that kind of, like, personal to me. Not always. Like, it depends on, like, where I'm playing and what I'm doing. Obviously, I can't play, like, loads of, like, emotional tunes and, like, ones that are personal to me, because you've got to, like, as a DJ, you've got to, like, cater to everyone in your crowd. But, like, a lot of the producing side of things is very, like, emotion driven. So, like, I'll sometimes, if I'm making if I just wake up and, like, want to make a track, it can be quite dependent on the mood. So if I'm really, really happy, the song will be dead upbeat and, like, you know, like, quite housey.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm in a bit of a mood, or someone's, like, pissed me off, it'll be dead, like, raw and, like, emotional that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it just depends, really.
Yeah, you're still evoking your emotion into the track, even if you are angry. It's dirty and gritty sort of thing.
But I kind of went off on a tangent there, but basically, like, that was it for me. So, like, I thought I'd love to play my tunes, and, like, people kind of relate to my music and what I'm feeling through my music. So it was the want and the need to do that, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you're doing this, what's like, where did you see yourself? Like, did you like, I need to get an entry point into this? I need to I need to get a set of decks? And what was the next steps?
There was this little controller. It was called Ion. Do you remember Ion?
No.
Anyway, it was about that big, and it had two, like, jog wheels on it, and I think it had, like, just literally two mixers in the middle, two faders in the middle, and it was just like you had to just plug it in to your laptop and just, like, mixing it, and it was using virtual DJ.
Right.
So I'd just, like, have a go on that in the kitchen, like, put, like, little speakers to the sides and just have a go in the kitchen, and then I just, throughout time, just got, like, different controllers. So, like, they went a bit smaller, then they got bigger, and got into, like, I had, like, a tractor one, and then I got, like, a big Pioneer one. It was huge. Like, it was, like, from there to, like, the end of my elbow. It was massive. This, like, DDT, or so, I don't know, can't remember the name of it, but it was
Is it the
huge.
DDJ 100 thing?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like the T1, so you could have tractor, or there was the S1 and you could have Serato.
Oh, right. Okay,
so I had the T1. I was always, like, really tractor. Like, I hated Serato. Sorry, Serato. But I was always for tractor. But yeah, like, just teaching myself more and more how to DJ. But this was before I'd ever touched a set of CDJs. So when I got onto CDJs, totally different ball game. It's quite, don't get me wrong, it's quite simple, and obviously there's, like, you know, there's DJs out there that will just, like, use the sync button, and don't get me wrong, like, I do think you need to learn how to, like, beat match and stuff and properly DJ, not just come into it and just use the sync button. But on the flip side, some DJs can use that and be, like, really creative, or they have a good knowledge of the music.
Yeah.
So I think it's swings and roundabouts, really, when it comes to that. But yeah, I then got onto the CDJs. I was like, oh my God, it was like a car crash. Just couldn't mix on the CDJs.
I get like that every time Pioneer bring a new CDJ out. I do. Even regardless of how long I've been DJing. Like, for instance, I turned up to a gig the other day, and it was the 3000s, I think.
Yeah.
The things, and I plugged my USB in, and it was like no music, and I was like,
Oh,
what's going
yeah.
on here? So luckily I carry about like 10 USBs in my bag. So I just pulled another one out and I was like, well, it looks like they're going to have to listen to classics because I want to go classics on this one. So I plugged it in and
I'm gonna throw a minute here, but we there was an event last year that we were on, Scousmar. She had a big night out event.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Chris Henry from Ultrabeat was on it. And it was like when the 3000s was more or less first came out, and he was going on to do his set, and I was stood next to him, and we were like both kind of just like looking at the decks, and he was like, do you know how to use these? And I was like, no, do you? And we were like, oh, what do we do? And we were kind of like looking at the decks like that, thinking, what's going on here? How we do this? Because it was all like touchscreen and everything, and we were just like, how do you get to like your tunes? Well, on the USB as well, but obviously we figured it out in the end. But we were both like,
Well, when I used them, I didn't use. I don't use Rekordbox even now.
Don't you?
No, I just. I tried to. Famously, the podcast listeners will hate me for this, like talking about it. But famously, I loaded it up Rekordbox one day, and I thought, oh, I may as well get with the times because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and I threw like a folder of music in there, and it said like 3 days to export, and I was like,
I've never had that before, but I think that's because as soon as Rekordbox came out, I've religiously put all my tunes through Rekordbox.
That's it. Yeah, like if I'd done that from day one, it wouldn't have been half problem. And now I've just got the point I can't be bothered, and I'm just like, I'm not.
It is time consuming. I think sometimes people don't realise how, like, you know, how much actually goes on behind the scenes for DJs and producers, because like, it looks probably to like an audience that like, you know, we just turn up and we just press play and it's like, you know, throw a few shapes in that, but it's really not like organising all your playlists and, you know, making your tunes and things. It can like sometimes I can wake up and just think, oh, I've got an idea and make a tune, and I'll make it in like 2 hours. It won't be like the full thing,
but
like
as well.
The idea's there, and then obviously like, you know, it'd need to be like mixed and mastered and stuff, and then, you know, get some feedback and stuff. But I can make a full idea in like 2 hours. And then other times I can just like think, oh, I'm gonna make a tune today. So I'll get home from work and then just open the MacBook and just be like, just trying to make a tune, and it just won't happen. It'll take me hours to do something, and I'm like, slam the MacBook down, right, to do it another day.
You're saying about the 3000s as well. When I first went on them, this was like last year, and I didn't even know they were touchscreen, so I've just been like trying to figure it out using the thing, going across. I'm like, how comes I can't click onto memory stick here? It's not working.
Yeah, that's what I was like, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so weird. And then I was like, that touching the screen.
And then the promoter came over and he's gone, are you alright? I was like, yeah. He says, you seem to be fiddling a bit there. I was like, yeah, I'm just scrolling through my music. He goes, oh, just do that, and then just started scrolling down. I was like, oh well, there you go.
Where's the instruction manual for these, please?
I feel so old.
No one's done a walkthrough for me.
It was the same whenever there's new equipment out, it's always like I'm brand new again, and it's like I've only just got used to 2000s and they came out 10 years ago. So it's like,
I know. I have had like a couple of gigs recently, and I've still requested 2000s. Not that I don't want to use the 3000s, but I've just not had the opportunity to like get on them and properly like have a go and like figure them all out. Like when I was like, you know, just starting out DJing, I think I could take any piece of equipment and just automatically know how to use it. But I think it was just more because, well, obviously one, I was a bit younger. I had a bit more time then because like I weren't in a full-time job. I weren't in a proper full-time job until I was like 23, because I was just like, I was so into my music between like 17 and 23. I was just like trying to dabble in like learning how to DJ and things, and dabbled a little bit in music production, but not as heavily as I do now. And I just like, I need like proper time now to put into like, just have a look at it and scope it all out.
It's frustrating being an adult, isn't it?
It is. It's a hard life.
It's not. So when you sit there and you get an idea and you realise you've still got like 7 hours of work to do.
That's me. And I get to like 11 o'clock in work and I'm like, oh, so I'm going to wait all this time, and then by the time I get home sometimes it's just like, oh, I just can't.
I don't think people can like relate to this who are not into this music, because it's like you don't realise how much like writing music and even like to a level with if you just DJ as well, when you're sitting there thinking about mixing tune into tune, it's like you don't realise that you think about 80% of your day. It's like 80% of your
It
day
is.
you're thinking about what can I,
Yeah.
how can I do this, how can I do that, and then it's like people like, are you all right? And it's like just a bit zoned out here, just thinking about what to do.
That's it. Like my whole day pans around what I've got going on
Yeah.
later for gigging.
Yeah.
And I will literally plan my whole day out to like give myself time or make sure like I've done my set and figured my set out and things.
Yeah.
But it's not always like that because life can just like get in the way. So sometimes I have turned up to sets completely unprepared and just winged it. But that's because I've been fortunate enough, obviously, to have a back catalogue of loads of music from different sets and stuff that I've done over the years. So
Yeah.
I've got quite a broad range of music on my USB, really. But it's that time consuming. You've got to put a lot of time and effort into it
Absolutely.
to get something out of it.
So you've got your first set of decks, and that when was your first gig? Like what was who you meet? Who was the first person you met in the industry as well? That's another thing. Like
Do you know what? I couldn't even say because there was like a few like at once. So like my mum, she's a teacher, and she had a connection with Les Calvert.
right.
Through his daughter Molly. And so it was pretty much Les, to be honest. I'll probably say maybe Les was the first that I can think of.
Yeah.
Obviously I'd known of like, you know, Lee Butler.
Yeah.
I knew of like Ian Longo, Anton Powers, Dave Whelan, Denny Dowd, because they were all on like Juice FM and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to Juice like all the time. Like that was my soundtrack to getting ready to go out to
Soundtrack
town.
of Liverpool. People growing up.
Yeah. So I knew of all them, but it was probably like Les because obviously my mum and teacher Molly. So Les used to give me mum loads of CDs, like Head Candy CDs and
Right.
stuff like that. Because he just used to get loads of them. So like, you know, we obviously had the music there.
Yeah.
So probably say Les, and then Les had given me a gig. Like I'd been DJing a little bit before and I'd had a little bit of a go on the decks in like Mansion and stuff before that, but no proper gigs where like had been booked. There was one in like in an underground, but I can't remember the name of it now. But like there wasn't anyone there.
We've all had them gigs.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone there. It was just like a lineup with like a ton of DJs on it. Obviously like, you know, we weren't paid or anything, but like it was just like a first opportunity kind of thing.
Yeah, more DJs than actual.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it though,
Yeah.
but like I just remember it being in this underground venue in town. Can't even remember where that venue was either.
Yeah.
My memory's just like gone. It's just like 10 years have just passed and I've just been like, wow, what's happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just in this underground venue, but the proper like town gig when I got into like, you know, the town kind of crew was in a club called Matinee Idol, and it's now I think it's now Heaven, to be honest. It's on the corner of like, it's at like the top of Matthew Street, but on like Victoria Street as well, and it was called Matinee Idol at the time, and it was on a bank holiday weekend in May 2013.
Yeah.
And Les had put me on, and there was a set of CDJs there, and I was just looking at them thinking, oh my god, I don't know how to use these properly yet because I've been using my controllers.
Yeah. What sort of style were you playing at the time then? What was the tunes? That you were thinking,
It was EDM. It was
Right.
all EDM stuff. So like your Swedish House Mafia, Nicky Romero, Afrojack, David Guetta.
Yeah.
Just like really like heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And well, to be fair, even Calvin Harris, because all of his like EDM tunes like then.
Yeah. That won't have been far after like 18 months as well, wouldn't it? That album that he did, that was like 2012, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I know the sound you're on about.
EDM sound, yeah.
Really commercial sort of stuff.
Yeah. Everyone like knows that sound, that era in the music. Like I do have the opinion of Swedish House Mafia kind of changing that. I think Swedish House Mafia were like a huge...
They made it more musical, didn't they? Like, if you listen to, like for instance, like... they did Don't You Worry Child, that was obviously there was a lot of like instruments rather than just a big heavy kick drum, and like
that's it. They weren't like really like, a lot of them weren't like vocally driven. They were just, I don't know, they were just like boss tunes, like one. Even Miami to Ibiza, like obviously didn't originally have Tiny Temper on. There was just an instrumental, and then it came out with that, and then obviously one came out with Pharrell Williams on. So, but I loved like the instrumental side of them and EDM like that. But yeah, anyway, I had my first gig in this Matinee Idol, and I was trying to mix on these CDJs, and I just couldn't do it. I think it was just awful. It sounded like an absolute car crash. And I remember one of the DJs at the time, Lee Morrison, walked in, and I was like, oh fuck. And it was just like, it just sounded awful. It just weren't beat matching at all. And I just remember Lee Morrison's face, like that look, do you know, like that look when a DJ knows that like something's going wrong, and I was just, I just wanted to die inside. Just
have the world concede.
Yeah, because I had a very weird way of DJing when I first started, because I kind of used to just like filter in and out of tracks. So like if like a build would be coming up in a track, I'd just drop it, and the next I'd bring the next one in. I wasn't really at like the mixing stage. So I was trying to mix, and it was probably the worst time to have a go at trying to mix. But and then from there, just started to like meet more DJs, you know, get my name out. Like I met Billy Clements and like Chris Wright, and they put me on like Sin Nights. I met Mike DeScarl and Dave Whelan, because I used to go into Mansion every weekend. But I actually met Dave Whelan first, because this was on one of these Sunshine Sundays boat parties. So even prior to meeting them, and like knew like the DJs like Andy Mack, who else was there in there? Mick Willow was in there, John Ross. So it was with all them on like this boat party. And then like used to go to like Kingdom and stuff as well. But when I met Dave Whelan on that party, he was like, oh, I've got a club, and like, you know, everyone knows Mansion now. He's like, oh, we've just opened this club, you should come round. So I was like, oh yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'll come round. Went round, and then obviously that was my place for the next few years in Mansion every weekend. Then met like Mike DeScarla. I'd met like Ian Longo in Passion once. But obviously like know them all like really well now, and like, you know, seeing their journeys and stuff as well. Just like networking and like putting mixes out, promoting myself, and getting on like more and more events as time went by, really.
Was there any notable events on this ascension up sort of thing? Was there anything where you were like, this feels like I've leveled up here sort of thing?
So Reminisce, I'd say. So I had a residency. I had a few residencies, to be fair, over time. So like there was Carl Williams as well. He used to be a resident in Mojito, club called Mojito on Victoria Street. And he was teaching me like a little bit like on the decks and stuff, how to beat match and things. And then from there I just kind of like moved on, and there was a club called Secret then. And I had a residency in there with two lads like who went under an alias called Brother Beats, Tony and Peter Abbott. And they invited me to be part of like that night with them in the upstairs bit. And then Lee Morrison was a resident downstairs with a DJ called Danny Gale. And then just kind of like built up my time in there, and I think again got a bit more known from being in there every weekend. And then one night Lee Butler was DJing in there, and I really wanted to be on Reminisce. Reminisce, I think, started in 2014.
I think
and Lee was DJing in Secret one night, so I thought, I'm going to go and pop in and go and say hello to him. So I did. I went in and said hiya. And I was just like, you know, I've done this and that. I really love my DJing. Oh, Lord, as you do. And then I put this mix together, this old school mix. And this mix is like the mix now. Like, everyone still tells me about it, like how good it was. And I can honestly, hands down, say it's probably the best mix I've ever done. Because I put like my heart and soul into it, because I was like, right, Lee Butler's got to listen to this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
So I did this mix and I sent it to him, and he loved it. He like thought it was boss, and then he gave me a set on Reminisce.
Oh, that's alright, yeah.
And then I've been on Reminisce every year since 2015.
That's good.
But I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be playing on Reminisce. Because, like, my mum and my auntie, like, more so my auntie, like, used to go, like, the 051 in the States and stuff, so they knew exactly who Lee Butler was. So this was, like, crazy, because I didn't, because, like, I weren't of an age where, like, I would have been able to go, like, the States and the 051 and things like that. So, giving me that opportunity was that point where I feel like, oh yeah, I've leveled up here, getting on Reminisce.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a good gig to be on as well.
Yeah.
I've just seen the lineup come out yesterday, didn't it? And you're on again, aren't you?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah,
yesterday
yeah.
it came out? I seen the full flight
Last night, yeah, 7:00 last night.
Yeah.
So I am on again in the Love House Arena this year. So I've been between. So I think I did the VIP in 2015 and 2016. And then I moved to the Love House Arena, and then I've been on the Love House Arena ever since, in the Garlands outdoor stage as well.
That's good. That is really good. So, with regards to that, then you feel like you've sort of getting somewhere with this. Do you feel that you went down like the old school route for a little bit and?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went. I went like down the old school route for a while. I still do, to be honest. Like, I've got some of it in me set for, like, you know, under Toriah things. So it's just a popular genre that everyone knows.
Yeah. It's a safe bet as well, isn't it?
It goes off, like it does. It goes off. It's nostalgic, isn't it? But yeah, like, you know, that was obviously before like the Toriah alias came about, and you know, this was like fully fledged Vicky Scott. So like this was like me kind of moving, because like there was like an era, wasn't there, for EDM, and you kind of like, everyone kind of like moved away from it, and then old school come back round again. And obviously because I'd got it like in with like Lee Butler and Steve Cocky and that, you know, old school was the thing for me then, so I was playing a lot of that in my sets, wherever I was, like in Liverpool.
So where did the split come from then? So because obviously we're approaching this now, as you've been doing the Reminisce festivals and then the local stuff as well, you've obviously come up with your new alias, and you've consciously made the decision of you're gonna like, it's gonna be a different style, that, isn't it then?
Yeah, so obviously like I'd done a bit of Reminisce, and then in 2016 I got the opportunity to DJ in Cafe Mambo in Ibiza and Amnesia, and did one of the Pucker Up Boat parties as well. And it was from that point I was like, oh, something needs to change here, like I need to do something else and try and push forward, because this is what I really, really want. Like, that just like kind of fueled the fire to like me want to get more. And I was like, I want to do this full time. I've always wanted to be a full-time DJ, full-time producer. So from DJing there, that was where I started to get a bit more into production, but it was still on like the Vicky Scott side of things. So it was like the Korg M1. So like I don't know whether you know like what the Korg M1 sound is, but it's a very popular,
distinctive old school sound.
Yeah, like an organ and like piano kind of sound. And I started making tunes with that like that kind of sound in, and putting them out. But like they weren't very good at the time, to be honest. But like that was me kind of taking that approach to dabble in it and try and push forward.
Yeah, you can test it. Yeah, you can test it using that name. Really, and then when you realise that you might have nailed a tune where it's like, this is good, and you can throw it out under so what is it, your Toriah? Have I pronounced that right?
Oh, do you know what, I say different things, because sometimes I say Toriah, sometimes I say Soraya, but I just think
so with the Toriah thing, you're putting out like your best work, so to say, like, and like if it's constant bangers with that name, it's only going to sort of build on it. Whereas if you feel like, oh, this like isn't that good, but it's still thing you could do. It's like a Vicky Scott show.
Yeah, that's it. So like so under Vicky Scott, like I sent some out to like, so there was like some YouTube channels and stuff, and they're still on YouTube now. Yeah. And when I listen to them, like, oh my God, why are they there? But like, it's just, I'm sure there's probably loads of DJs and loads of producers that have got like some of them tracks and they're just like, why? Yeah. But they're out there. They weren't the worst, but you can tell they were like my first productions. And that, like, that wasn't a decision to kind of separate myself. It was just like, Vicky Scott was like just so Liverpool, and like I feel like I'd kind of got to a point of where like I couldn't reach any further with Vicky Scott, and I felt like I needed to change and have like an alias to kind of rebrand a little bit and reach a bigger audience again and different promoters and
makes sense as well.
Just branch out. It was probably between like conversations at the time, people saying, you know, just have two. And to be honest, it's kind of worked out for the better because I've been able to, I still have loads going on under Vicky Scott. And then things are really kicking off like with Toriah now. So I've got the best of both worlds, which is great. You know, I can still be on Reminisce, I'm still on In Demand, I'm still on, you know, like local events, still got to go over and do Sin Sundays in Ocean Beach. I can still be a part of all that instead of like completely cutting off and trying to rebrand and build again. I'm still kind of, let's say maybe like in the public eye, staying relevant still with Vicky Scott stuff. And it allows me to even like get content and stuff together for Toriah stuff and put out there on like my socials. But the music has got much more serious under Toriah. Like Vicky Scott's music was just like a dabble, a little bit of fun. Had some support on Radio 1. I did like a little remix of Be Good To Me, you know, Beats International. And then I had a set. I got booked for Creamfields for the first time, and when I was playing my set in Creamfields, that remix I did of Beats International got played on Radio 1 by Charlie Hedges.
Oh, that's good.
So it fueled it even more. Then I was like, oh, I want to do this, but I thought I've only really made this kind of house music, and it was like, it was a Korg M1 organ bass or a piano, and I was like, I feel like there's not much more I can do. So, and I really wanted to go into like tech house and stuff, but I thought it's so different to what I was trying to make.
You have to like.
I kind of I'm gonna make something else, and I really wanted to get a release on Two Room Records. Like, I love Mark Knight. Was really heavily influenced by Mark Knight.
Style, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and I thought I need to separate the two here, and then. Obviously, I separated the two, started going down to Two Room Records. They had a platform called We Are Listening. It was for women in music, because they didn't get loads of demos from women.
I remember this actually,
they couldn't understand why. They were just like, maybe like they aren't out there, or they are out there, and they're afraid because it's so like heavily male dominated.
Let's just say you're the first woman on this podcast. Do you know that as well?
Hey.
60 episodes. Well, I think we've done 70, including Patreons. And first one. It's not that there isn't any. It's like, it's the fact of like the how can I say? I don't want to get myself in trouble, but
say it.
No, essentially, it's like there's a lot of people out there who they want it, but they're maybe afraid to like approach a promoter and or they don't want to come on in the public eye, and they'll be like, just because they're a woman they've got this or something like that. But it's like, if you're good.
It can be like that sometimes though. Like I've had a lot of times where like I've been coming into like the DJ box or something, and like DJs have just kind of looked at me and been like, fellas, like obviously have been like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm DJing. Yeah. No, you're not. I'm like, no, I really am. It's my little DJ. It's my little DJ bag. They were like, no, you're not. And I was like, no, I really am. And they'd be like a bit like thingy about me and being in a DJ box. And I'd be like, no, genuinely, it's DJ. Or the funniest one, I mean, I mean, it's quite flattering, I suppose, but I think this was a bit more like when I was like, I used to get like really dressed up and have all my hair and my makeup done every weekend when I used to go out and DJ in the earlier days of Vicky Scott. So like there'd be a lot of situations where if there were girls there with the partners that were DJing or whatever, they'd think that I was trying to hang around the fella. And I'm like, no, I'm just here to DJ. And then it's like, they'd like be a little bit funny with you, but then once they realise that you were there actually to DJ, they'd be like, oh, you DJ? And it's like, yeah, I told you.
Interesting. Right, we'll be back for part 2 in 2 minutes. So back for part 2 of the podcast. We were just getting into the story of sort of your journey in sort of house music more than the local Liverpool scene. So I want to dig more into that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So when you were producing and stuff, how many demos did you send off before like one of the tracks got signed? Because obviously you were saying off pod that you've got a good couple of releases on decent labels and stuff.
Yeah, so Tool Room, so it was kind of, because they had that We Are Listening platform, I went down to them a couple of times, and it wasn't actually as many as you thought.
Yeah.
Because it's been a confidence thing for me. Like I've not thought like my music's good or whatever, and like I've just been like reluctant to sending demos out to these like big labels.
Yeah.
But I was a bit like not wanting to bother with smaller labels. I just really wanted to like dream big and like achieve like
think bigger, treat like
that's it. And so I think because obviously I'd been down to Tool Room a couple of times and had the contact with them, you know, like they had like a section in the day where like they'd A&R all the tunes that any of the girls had brought along. And they really liked one that I took down. It was a remix of Mark Knight's Drug Music, that I did with one of my friends, Phonics, and they loved it. But it wasn't just like one of my own, so like I was a bit like, I should have demoed them one of mine, but it was the stronger one that I wanted to kind of like make an impression with that remix that I did with Paul.
Decent.
But yeah, because I'd been in contact with them, obviously I made a track called The Haunts, and they loved it, and obviously come back and forth a couple of times, you know, some changes needed, not much, but just to get that extra kind of, it's quite common that you'll find when you send off demos, it goes back and forth a bit to get that extra, like 10%, 20%.
Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just to cater to their sound as well. Like maybe they've got like a signature sound, but you're sending it in, and it's like you've got to like not copy that, but you've got to be close to it because it needs to be suitable for that label sort of thing. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. So that was the first track that you got signed.
Yeah. So obviously I'd had releases on labels before. So if you take it back a little bit, when I had an alias, and I've literally got one tune out on this alias. I called it MVJ. So my middle name's Jane, so it was like Miss Victoria Jane. Just called it MVJ. Just dead random. But that actually came out on Sonny Wharton's label.
Oh, right. Okay.
On Wartone.
Yeah.
You know, went on like the Ibiza sampler, the Miami sampler.
Yeah.
And it was, to be honest, it was a cracking little tune. And like Sonny has actually helped me out. Just, you know, like saying with like little bits or whatever it needed. And then he signed it. And then from that, I didn't really do anything else. And then the platform for Tool Room came around, so I'd obviously went down there. That was 2018, I think, the first time I went down to Tool Room headquarters in Maidstone in Kent. And I think it was then 2019. I was a bit more like trying to do better music. I was kind of perfecting my sound and learning more with production before I actually felt confident enough. Like there was a couple of other events that I'd went down to before I'd actually sent them it. And yeah, so then the back end of 2019, I think it was, to be fair, I think it was going on for like a few months. I think it was like maybe like June 19, I'd started the horns and then sent it over. Yeah. And then it was like the changes and stuff. And then I think it officially got signed in like December.
It's a 19. Long trek, that's a long trek.
And then it came out in March 2020.
Yeah.
but unfortunately,
literally the worst time.
The worst time.
I can guarantee you now,
COVID.
if you've released music in March 2020, it's been forgotten about.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a bad
I think
time.
a lot of DJs and producers can relate, like with tracks that came out around then.
Right.
And it's such a shame because, like,
I think this is when I first heard you as well. To be fair, I think I'm not
like it was just such a proper like techie like party house banging tune. And I think it would have done really well, like in the clubs and things. But obviously, unfortunately, we went into lockdown.
Yep.
It had, you know, some support from like Mark Knight, Roger Sanchez, Who, even Chocolate Puma.
Yeah.
And I loved them back in the day, and I was like, oh my god. It had some like great support. But obviously, this was just on like, you know, on mixes and podcasts and
it wasn't getting
all online. It was just all online. It wasn't in a club, so I never actually got like you know, content for it being in a club, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But
because there was that much stuff in lockdown that was produced, so them tunes just get left by the wayside. It's unfortunate, but timing can't be always the top thing. You know what I mean?
and then I had another release called Don't Be Scared. And when I sent it over to them, I was thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely gonna get on, because it was just like it was like that proper like Mark Knight Tool Room sound.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we're gonna sign it. And then like they come back and were like, it's 2 Tool Room. And I was like, oh no, they were like, it's 2 Mark Knight sounds. And I was like,
yeah,
You want
it to be. You've got, it's like a fine line, isn't it? It's like, because sometimes you can listen to a tune and someone's literally like copied all the samples, and it's like, that's their kick drum, that's their hat,
yeah.
Wait a second, you're using their bass line, this is their tune, but like you've obviously produced it, but there's like a fine line where they want them elements in there. But
because like I mean the horns was very different. Like it did have its own identity and everything. I do get where they were coming from now. That Don't Be Scared was like very Mark Knight. But then it worked out. You know, it ended up getting released on another boss label in America. Deep Tech LA,
right.
And it got like it racked up like quite a few like decent plays. I think it got like pushing like 90,000 plays on like Spotify and stuff. Had some more support from Roger Sanchez again, Mark Knight again, a few other DJs. You know, it did really well. So both them tracks did great. Just obviously it's just a shame like when they came out, like it was both in lockdown.
Yeah.
And then over lockdown, I was just influenced by like different artists and stuff then. And my sound completely changed. So I started doing like melodic and progressive stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously now, like, you know, fast forward, that's took a while. That's took a good while to get tunes out under like the melodic side, because in terms of contacts, obviously I had the contacts there for Tool Room because I'd been going down to the HQ. But because I changed my sound, like my sound's no longer fitted for Tool Room, so it was like, and I didn't know where to approach, but I had like the ideas of like Anjuna. Like I really wanted to get a release on Anjuna beats.
They do really good melodic stuff as well.
Yeah, got so close. Worked really closely with the A&R, and it was about 3 months going back and forth this track, and then it went up to Above and Beyond, and they turned it down, and I was just gutted. Like I was heartbroken because I was like, yes, I'm gonna be on Anjuna, and then it just fell flat.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so I can't have it all, because you know how straightforward it seemed for Tool Room.
Yeah.
You know, that happened quite quickly.
Yeah. Almost felt like you fell into it rather
than
so
like, it was kind of like, oh well, I've done it with Tool Room, so I can go and do it with Anjuna beats, and it's not the case. But it's not that the track wasn't great. It was just, I think it was them, just it just weren't for them. You know, the A&R loved it.
Subjective, isn't it? That's what it is. Isn't it? It's like you can't. It's not an objectively bad track because there isn't many of them out there. It's like when you hear, this is getting a bit deep, but when you hear people say that, like, when you talk to some A&R and they're like, oh yeah, just put some more compression on this, or take some compression. It's like, no, if it needed that, it would have done it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you messaged me back saying, listen, it's totally distorted, this mix. It'd be like, yeah, that's objectively bad.
Yeah.
But just, it isn't, it's subjective, and if they want that style, then you've got to sometimes adjust to fit, haven't you? So
yeah,
that's what
I was like so like big on the thought that like, oh well, I've had to release on Two Room now, and you know they'll see that and be like, oh, she's released on Two Room, and like, you know, like we can kind of give a chance to it here because there's something like, you know, like noteworthy. But it just weren't the case. But like the A&R like really loved it. But again, you know, when that time comes back around, and I think it was more of a case of just building my profile up a bit. And just working a bit more on some more music to send over. So I haven't sent them any music since, but I feel like I'm edging back towards that now. Like I've got like some different contacts again, and it's just getting in with them and working closely with them to get like the sound right, get the production right.
Yeah. So see this track that you did that got past the A&R but didn't get signed. What have you done with that then? He said, did you?
So I ended up releasing that on a label called Marylebone Records in Manchester.
Right.
So what caught me with them is where they were based in Manchester. The studios were just like amazing, and like there just seemed to be like really like loads of like good stuff going on. Got in with like a couple of the lads in Manchester versus Scott and Dave. And then my friend who I mentioned before, Phonics Paul, he got a job there. Paul Holden? Paul Holden, yeah.
Yeah, it is,
yeah, I've known Paul for years because we both used to have a show on KCC Live years ago, so that's how we met. So we've known each other a long time and been great friends ever since.
So when you said it before, you said Phonics, I was like, that name rings a bell, and then I was like, oh yeah, obviously,
yeah. So like he masters like my music for me.
He's a really good producer as well.
He's brilliant. Yeah, like he knows his shit. Like he knows what he's doing. He sent me a tune before. Actually, I need to have a little listen to it. But yeah, like so he was working there, and then it was just a case of like, you know, it was it had good things about it, you know, and like they had like a really big following on Instagram and stuff, and you know, it was basically kind of like all like the work was like done for me in a sense of like, you know, I could just send my tunes over and they get mastered, so like it wasn't costing me anything to get them mastered. The artwork was amazing, like this really like really like niche, standout, like unique kind of artwork. I loved all that as well. So I ended up releasing 4 tracks with them. I had Rise Above It All, New Beginnings, Something I Said, and Emotai. It was just a case of me wanting to get the track out, and nothing to do with like, oh, it's just like this label I'm going to release on it. It just seemed to fit well because I knew I'd got to know them. I knew Paul was working there, and I thought, right, I know I'll be looked after here, and like the track will be pushed and I'll be supported. Yeah. So it was just the right label for me at the time. And just something in between, not like going for like the big kind of things, but like an up and coming label that's kind of pushing through with the dance music.
Yeah, I think a lot of people is if they don't get the top one, then they just completely fuck it off. Yeah. If you're driven, right, you've got to remember these top labels, they're aware who the mid sort of level labels are. If you sent like something to say Tour Room, for instance, and you'd released on some other labels that's similar to their style, then looked you up and like, oh well, they've got a bit of notoriety about themselves, and this is what it is. And it's like some people, if they don't get to the top straight away, it's like I've said this on hundreds of podcasts as well. There's the 6-monthers, so it's like literally that's what you call them. But like people like, oh, I'm going to give this DJ thing a crack. It doesn't seem that hard. And when they realise they don't get anywhere after 6 months, then they're gone. That's it. There's hundreds of them, millions.
To be fair, I think there was like one point like throughout this 10 years, I think I had like a whole year I barely had any gigs, barely did any music, don't know what was happening. I was thinking, oh my God, this is the end of my career. Like, I just don't know how I'm going to get back into it. And I can't even remember why, to be honest, or like why I didn't have like many gigs. I just completely fell off the bandwagon. But in all honesty, I think it was probably for the best that I had just that little break and then come back like stronger. because like, you know, the things that you know, I'm getting up to now, like, you know, like with my music and stuff, like, yeah, I released on Toolroom, and then like I couldn't get like on like a big label again, but it kind of like brought me back to basics, because I was like, okay, let's start again here. And then I started like getting my name out there a bit more, and like, you know,
it's organic as well, isn't it?
yeah, that's it. So like I was like, right, okay, I can't just go from like big thing to big thing to big thing. So it kind of it put me back a bit, but I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna release these on Marylebone, and it's getting music out, it's being consistent, and then around all that, I was obviously still doing stuff with Vicky Scott, but didn't have many gigs with like Toriah. But I was started getting like some like great support on Radio 1. So Jaguar's got like BBC introducing on Radio 1.
Yeah.
But I've always been like really heavily supported by BBC Merseyside with their local introducing team, Jay Burns and Dave Monks. So I've had like loads of support on like me Toriah music on there. So I feel like it's kind of just been a case, I know I've mentioned this before, but it has literally been a case of just like, I think it's been more of a, not the music wasn't good enough, but who is Toriah? Like, so it's like kind of
bringing
building
an
up,
identity,
building up my profile, and just like, you know, showing who Toriah is, and showing a bit more of my personality. So I didn't post any pictures of myself or anything at first with Toriah. It was just like logos and like videos and things and music and that. But then I started to like show my face, and then now I've been like, oh, just kind of like play it cool. And like don't bring too much of Vicky Scott into it. Oh, now fully fledged, like my personality's there. Not so much as it would be on Vicky Scott, but like a bit more of like my personality's like creeping through. You know, like I've started like, because I've got 2 different profiles, I've started like tagging both profiles together to get all my Vicky Scott followers into the Toriah stuff, so everyone knows now. But yeah, it's just kind of building that brand up, and I feel like it's slowly but surely like going the right way, like obviously with the support, you know, on BBC Merseyside, like on the introducing there, the support from Charlie Hedges. I've just recently ended up now with a manager as well, Frances. She manages Ben Malone, who's on Kiss FM. And then, you know, everything's just like tied in really well. I've been really closely linked with Sonny Wharton still. He's watched my journey, and he put me forward then to my manager, because she was looking for her first female artist to sign. And yeah, so like we'd had like a conversation, and she took me on in January this year.
That's good.
And then obviously Sonny's got like, you know, links in, like he's been in the industry for a long time, and he's another one, he really knows his shit. And you know, he loves what I do, and loves me as a DJ, loves me as a producer. And like, you know, we've had some like really like thorough chats, like, you know, keeping in touch. We used to have like phone calls and be in touch, and I'd let him know what I'm up to, and he's kind of just like steer me in like a little bit of a direction, and just say like, you know, you should be doing this, or you know, you can be doing that. And then obviously the Stress is a label I've always wanted to release on, and I love the music on there. Like one of my favourite producers on there was Will Easton. And I really loved like that kind of like progressive sound, and like the rolling bass and things. Just like, it was a bit like tech. It was like progressive, but like techno kind of in a way, but not like heavy techno. I just loved it, and I always thought, oh, I want to release on Stress. And obviously like Hannah Lang had been on there, Hannah Wants, Danny Howard. And I was just like, this label's just great, and like the music on there was just like so
very
good.
fitting for what you want to do as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it was, again, like Stress is like a label. I think it's very niche, and it was just, I feel like it was like it's a label that like I really fit into. And I actually sent them a demo. I sent them my track that just came out. I sent them Motions. And speaking of the question you'd asked me before, how long did it take? Well, with Stress, it actually took, I think, about maybe 3 years.
Wow.
4 years, because I initially sent them Motions. I'm pretty certain I sent them Motions a few years ago.
Oh, like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't get a response, and now, because I've built my profile up, and you know, I've come back round again, and I've sent them Motions, and they loved it. It fitted. It was like this was Motions time.
Yeah.
For Stress,
That's
and then
good.
ended up signing. I had a really good meeting with Luke, the label owner. And with Francis as well, my manager, and it was just great. Like we just got on really well. Like you know, proper gelled and things. Got a really good relationship with them already, and ended up, you know, signing a 4-track records
That's good.
deal with them. So I've just had my first release on Stress there with Motions, and then I've obviously got 3 left to do. So
Excellent.
yeah, I think
really good.
it's definitely going to be the build up. They've got the platform there to like push me as an artist, and they do really like believe in me and believe in my music, and I know how much they want to push me and support me as an artist. So
it's good to know
that's
that
just
you've got
great.
that comfort there as well.
Yeah,
of like,
definitely.
Of like they are genuinely interested in what I'm up to and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They're not just doing it to maybe just get turned down straight away.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, so that being said, we're sort of like up to date with where you are. I know you've done some other notable gigs, and that you've got Reminisce coming up again as Vicky Scott.
Yeah.
Have you got gigs coming up as Toriah?
Yeah, so tonight I'm actually making my debut at Joshua Brooks, a venue that I've wanted to play at for a good while as well. So moving forward with more releases, I've actually signed a track which is more house. I've signed that track to Ariel Free's label, Free Your Mind. And
That's
she's
good.
got a Free Your Mind night on tonight in Joshua Brooks in Manchester.
Excellent.
And I'm playing for that for them tonight, making my debut there. So that's the first. And then I will be back on Creamfields as well as
Excellent.
Toriah.
Yep.
I'm just not sure on like full details yet. Well, I am sure, but I can't announce
obviously,
them yet.
She's going to tell me off podcast 'cause I'm special.
He knows already.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, and then obviously, like, you know, I'd had the debut for Circus back in October. I played for Creamfields back in August as well. That was like my biggest one yet. I was in the Fatboy Slim Arena so on the Sunday, and that was just like that was just an amazing like
I think I've seen a video of that actually online.
Yeah, it was really good. Like there was no one in the tent, and then literally like mid-set, like everyone just started like flooding in. I was like, wow, this is just mad. But yeah, like there's other things as well. Like I've spoke to a DJ that's like really like big on the scene at the moment. And she that's all I'm giving away. She is like keen to get me on one of her shows. So you know,
I know who it is.
He's rubbing it in now.
Yeah.
But you know, that's potentially in the pipeline as well. But like I'm just big on like not really like announcing stuff yet, because it's kind of like I've done it in the past where I've got dead excited about things and I've announced it. And then it's fell through and it's like,
It makes you look like a tit, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just what it is. It's a shame because you are excited about this huge achievement, but until they get the ball rolling on their side, there's not much really you can do, which it is a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a story so far. Like, I think this is only just the start of it as well. I'll get you back on next year and it'll be like, oh yeah, I did this and this. Creamfields was good. Yeah, Reminisce was good. Yeah. Vegas
More
next.
happened
You know
since
what I
then,
mean? Yeah, it's been great. I just want to sign off today with asking you a couple of questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
What I do is I just ask people these questions just so people can build sort of a profile around you and who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So this one is Throwback Attack, and it's if you've got to tell me the first song that comes into your head when I say it. Is that all right?
Yeah, okay.
Just don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, it ruins the game. Right, okay?
On the spot now.
Yeah, so it is on the spot. This is Throwback Attack with Vicky Scott / Toriah. How we're going to do this. And it is, what song do you think of when you think back to primary school?
Oh, singing in the valleys, shouting from the mountaintops. Whoa.
I don't know that song. And if that's right, you probably sang it bad. Yeah. It's good job you don't vocally.
You'd think it would be a better song, but to be honest, I just thought of being in school. So it was like one of these little hymns. And my teacher,
that's why I don't know it.
Yeah, and my teacher, Mr. Saunders, used to like stand at like the front of the hall with his guitar and everything.
Oh, I've had that.
Everyone will be sat like that with the legs crossed and be like singing in the valley.
Yeah.
So that just
sticks out.
Yeah, sticks out
All right,
to me for primary school. Yeah.
What song do you think of when you think back to secondary school?
DJ Cammy. So anything like that was like with like a really a pitched vocal, like Dancing in the Dark. That's
terrible.
Yeah, I know, it's awful. Or like DJ Sammy.
These inspirations.
DJ Sammy as well. Cammy or Sammy.
DJ Sammy, it's not a bad show.
Yeah, Heaven or yeah.
What song do you think of when you think of your first set of decks? So that, what did you say it was? Ion before.
Yeah, my first set of decks.
When you got that, what was the track?
It's definitely gonna be Swedish House Mafia, Leave the World Behind.
Excellent tune, excellent tune. I love the vocal on that one.
Yeah, me too.
What song do you think of when you think to your first days of going out?
First days of going out. First song. That's a tough one. That, to be fair. It's definitely like I'd probably say one that stands out to me has probably been Shakedown at Night, Kid Cream remix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a bad shout.
No.
And last one is, what song do you think of when you think back to your golden era? So like, what is the pinnacle of music for you? Like, what year?
Definitely 2013 to 2015. It's gotta be like all like Swedish House Mafia stuff.
Right. And what song is the pinnacle of that then?
It would be Leave the World Behind again.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, that's what it's about, isn't it?
There was another one by actually Avicii, to be honest. Any Avicii. But there used to be one by Avicii called Addicted to You.
Yeah,
but he did like a remix, like an Avicii by Avicii.
Yeah.
And Love You See as well.
Oh, that's a class tune. I like
Romance,
that tune. And to sign off today, we do something like totally different to what we've been doing, and it's you're about to get the electric chair because
there's a million reasons I could have the electric chair.
I don't know what it could be. I won't insult you, but you're going to get the electric chair because you haven't been a great human for whatever reason. And you get your last meal. So you get a starter, main, dessert, and a beverage. What are you going to have?
Starter, main, dessert, and beverage. Yeah. Okay. So for the beverage, I'd probably have...
Is that where you're starting?
I'm starting with a bevy. Yeah. Considering I'm not a big drinker, I'm starting with a bevy.
Yeah.
I'd have a Moretti.
Right. Oh, nice.
And for me meal... For me to say, I'm going backwards here.
No.
I'm starting with the good stuff.
This is ridiculous.
The dessert, it'd either be like waffles, or like cookie dough.
Right, yeah, I've got that.
You know, like a kind of like shakes and cakes type of something like that. I love that. Yeah, definitely a hot dessert. Meal, I'd probably go for salt and pepper chicken all day.
The most Liverpool answer ever.
Yeah, sauce. Yeah. And starter. This is fucked. Crispy seaweed.
Is that it? Oh, Jesus. Crispy seaweed, salt and pepper
Crispy
chicken.
seaweed is boss, you know.
Yeah,
don't knock it if you haven't tried it.
It is, bro. I wouldn't have it as a starter. Yeah, me, I'd have that on the side of a plate for me.
It's just the first thing that's coming to my head. I do love crispy seaweed. Or if we're going to go for something proper, then it would be salt and pepper shumais.
Yeah, right.
That's a better starter, isn't it?
Yeah. No one knows what that is outside Liverpool. Obviously, my missus is from Hong Kong, right? So like, whenever you mention shumai, I know what it is. But like, you can't go into like a takeaway outside of Liverpool and ask for that because they don't have a clue what it is.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's not on our menu.
Put some salt and pepper on it. No, not that salt and pepper. The proper salt and pepper.
But yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on today. I appreciate your time and it's been fantastic. Where can people find you? So, what are your socials?
So, I'm gonna push Toriah, so you can find me at Toriah Music. That's on Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Twitter.
Nice and easy, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed the podcast today, then you can follow us at It's Time to Refresh on Instagram, if you don't already. And if you really like it and you want to get the bonus episodes, you want to get early access to these episodes, then you can sign up at Patreon at patreon.com/It's Time to Refresh. Just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
No
It's been
problem.
boss.
I'll see you again soon.